how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is going to be another installment of my 10 favorites from 10 brands series that I started, I think last month. I did my first one last month. So if you want more of this type of video, and this is your first one of mine you're seeing, you can go check out that one as well for 10 more favorites from 10 brands. But today we're gonna tackle 10 more. I just thought this would be a fun way to kind of showcase my favorite of my favorites from a lot of my favorite brands. I've been asking for your suggestions on which brands to use. I did that for the first video. I pulled your suggestion from the comment section of that first video for this video. So leave in the comments down below what you want me to feature in the next one if you want me to continue the series. Some of these were so hard. Some of these it was like almost impossible for me to pick a singular favorite, but I did it. I managed to narrow it down. In some cases, I truly just went with, I use this specific product all the time. I feel like it has no choice but to be the default favorite from a specific brand. But this is really fun. It's just a fun way for me to kind of explore different brands in my collection, really hone in on what I'm grabbing for the most, what am I reaching for the most, what do I love the most, stuff like that. Out of these brands I talk about today, I would love to know what your favorites are from these brands as well. Like, do we share a similar favorite? Do you love something else more? I'm also gonna shout out other things that I just love from the brands in general, but I will be sharing my top favorite from each of these 10 brands, and it's gonna be so fun. Before we hop in the video itself, I did of course film this look. It should already be up on Instagram and YouTube Shorts by the time this video goes up. And as far as my accessory details, I only have a couple things today. This choker is from a shop in Orlando called Prometheus Esoterica. I got it years ago. And then this hat is from Witchwood Bags. So without further ado, let's talk about my top favorites from these 10 brands. I'm not gonna go in any particular order. I'm just gonna kind of bounce around. And again, I went based on literally your comments from the last video on which brands to feature in this one. So let's get to it. I guess we can kick it off with Kidos. Kidos at one point in time used to be one of my top favorite brands of all time. Like, they could not be beat, and they truly do still have such amazing stuff. Like, they have amazing highlighters. Their first round of blushes are beautiful. I love their lip clays so much. I actually thought I was gonna feature a lip clay in this video. Their newer lip glazes, they are so pretty. They have so many good things, but their Futurism palettes specifically stand out the most to me as one of my top favorite things of all time, specifically the Electro Turquoise. I've always called this my Taco Bell palette because it just gives retro Taco Bell to me. I am so sad that they've like kind of done away with these. If I'm not mistaken, this particular palette might still be available. I'll have everything I can linked down below if it's still available, but they are like discontinuing these Futurism palettes. Unfortunately, it seems like this brand has really gravitated toward like neutral little quads, which I'm not a fan of. It breaks my heart. I actually almost featured the Flower Punk for this video because that palette also makes my heart soar. At one point I probably did say that was my favorite palette from the brand, but if I'm really thinking about the brand as a whole and what are my top favorite things, these Futurism palettes just brought me so much joy, and they're still so good. I'll just watch a couple little cuties here. They're just so good. These used to be like one of my top favorite things of all time. I still love this palette dearly. I will never get rid of them. They are works of art in my opinion. I always keep them right here in this coffin. Not intentionally. I didn't think about the fact that these palettes are like basically dead and I put them in the coffin holder. That's funny. Didn't realize I did that. Maybe it was a subconscious choice, but these palettes bring me a lot of joy. I would have loved nothing more than for them to continue this series, but the 7 that they have or had at one point still bring me a lot of joy, and the Electro Turquoise takes the cake for sure. Moving on to NYX. I love a lot of NYX products. Their brow products are amazing. I use their brow pen literally every day. Their High Glass Finishing Powder, which doesn't exist anymore, was a longtime favorite of mine for years. Their eye pencils always hold such a special place in my heart. I've loved them for years and years. I used to love back in the day, like some of my first makeup products ever in my collection were like the butter glosses, the macaroon lips. Do you remember those? They were like weird pastel colors. This was a long time ago. I used to love those so dearly. I love the Epic Ink liner still. I don't have one in my possession currently, but the Epic Ink liner is a really good liquid liner. But my current top favorite from the brand are the Butter Gloss Blings. I love these lip glosses. They are so good. They're like sparkly and amazing. And like I mentioned, I used to love the regular butter glosses back in the day. And then over the last year, when I discovered they have like a shimmery version, I was hooked. And my favorite shade specifically is Bring the Bling. I wear this all the time. I was actually tempted to wear it today, but I just wore it recently, so I was like, maybe I should switch it up. But they're just shimmery, amazing. They are so good. I already had like 3 or 4 shades. I just recently picked up a few more shades. They're right here. I just love this formula. It is so comfy and lightweight. I love the shimmer and shine. These are so beautiful, and Bring the Bling is just the best shade. It's so good. I wear it constantly. Let's go with Give Me Glow next. Give Me Glow was a tough one. This also used to be a brand that I would have considered one of my top favorites. I had so many products from them at one point. I have blushes. At one point I had so many highlighters. I've since like found other highlighters that I like more, but I used to love them back in the day. Halo was my first ever product from them. It was the coolest, like blue base with like a shifty gold. It was so special and unique in my collection. I'm pretty sure I did like a dedicated video on my channel 1,000 years ago about that highlighter, if I'm not mistaken. It was the light of my life. I loved it for such a long time. I loved so many of their liquid lipsticks. I still have a couple. I have quite a few of their palettes. I haven't really picked up their most recent palettes, but their palettes used to be some of my top favorite back in the day. And when I was trying to figure out for this video, what is my #1 favorite thing? And the one that my heart just kept tugging to was the Vintage Rose. I've just used this one so many times in my life. I love the color story. It brings me a lot of joy. It takes me back to like old school makeup days. It's just, I don't know, this palette just feels special to me. So I feel like if I had to pick one thing, it would be this one, and maybe a little bit for nostalgia reasons, but this one's just so special to me. I literally have played with this more times than I can count. I reached for it countless times. I still think this is such a good color story. This was like Grungy Garden before Grungy Garden palettes were done all the time. The shadows are still so lovely. I've always loved the metallic nature of Give Me Glow shadows. I've loved how opaque and punchy they are. They're so good. And the mattes are just so pigmented and so buttery. This brings me joy just to talk about this palette. This takes me back. Have you been around since the days that I like first got this? I would love to know. That feels like a major throwback. Let's do Milk Makeup next. Milk Makeup was another really tough one. This is actually one of my top favorite brands. I use their stuff all the time. The whole Hydro Grip line, the setting spray, the primer, the eye primer. Love those so much. I miss the original setting powder they used to have back in the day. That was a really good one. The newer one doesn't scratch the itch as much for me, but I loved the OG one. They have just so many yummy complexion stuff. Their most recent Odyssey lip oil glosses are so good, but I knew exactly what my favorite was as soon as I was planning for this video. It is their tubing brow gel. They came out with this year, and it is my favorite brow gel of all time. I wear it every single day. Mine's in the shade Diesel right now, but I'll be honest, I'll use any shade of brown. They actually had sent me the PR package for all the shades of this brow gel twice on accident. So I hoarded all the browns, and then I divvied the reds and the blondes to my friends, but I will hoard all the browns. I'm probably set for the next at least 2 years. I love this brow gel. It's a tubing brow gel. So not only does it hold really well, it's like super glue strength. My brow hairs are very stubborn. This also grabs onto each individual hair and kind of encapsulates it, gives it a little bit more thickness and fullness. It kind of fills in and holds everything in place. I love the tint. I love the formula. I always go in with this, just like a nice little layer to get my brows in place, and then I'll just take a pen and like fill in any little gaps, but this is just so good. I know that's probably a very random favorite from a whole brand, but they did the thing with this brow gel. I just love it. I love it so much. Let's talk about Nomad now. Nomad has so many good things, definitely palette focused. Like the palettes are definitely where the brand shines for me. Every so often they deviate and come out with like the occasional lip product or something like that. And basically everything I've tried from the brand has been nice, but their palettes are definitely where they shine. They know what they're doing. They're so good at curating their themes. They always go to all these like various locations to theme it so perfectly to wherever they're going for it. And I was trying to think of what my favorite palette was, and I even went back and looked at my Nomad palette ranking that I posted at the beginning of the year. I was like, what did I rank #1 back then? And I thought it was the Iceland, and I was correct, it was the Iceland. But upon further reflection, and maybe just as time goes on, like your #1 favorite isn't gonna stay your #1 favorite forever necessarily, I think my second place palette in that video has crept up to first place. It's the Haunted Europe. I just love this palette so much. They did bring this back this year. I'm pretty sure for the last time ever. So if it's still available and you're interested in this, I think this is the last year to get it. I mean, I would love for them to bring it back every year, but I'm pretty sure I saw them say that this is the last time. But it's so good. I just love this palette. It's just everything. I love the grungy, spooky vibes, all the little like shapes in the different pans. This palette brings me so much joy. They absolutely killed it with this. Like, I don't think they're ever gonna be able to top this release for a spooky palette. It's just absolutely incredible. Do a couple little swatcheroos for this too. These videos are just such a fun excuse for me to have a fun little swatch party. Ooh, that's a really cute combo actually. I like that, that's pretty fun. But their shadows are just so good. The mattes are so just buildable and blendable and so easy to work with. I will always say that they are very beginner friendly because I feel like you can't go overkill. Like, you can definitely build them up to be like extremely pigmented and dramatic. Like, they're not sheer by any means. They're just easy to work with. Very, again, just beginner friendly. Like, I feel like you can't mess up with them. And the shimmers are so pretty, and they do various kinds of shimmers throughout their different palettes. Some are more shifty, sparkly. Some are more iridescent toppery. Some are more just opaque, metallic. They are just always so good. They bring me a lot of joy, this brand, and this palette specifically, just, it is me. It is me in a palette from this brand. It is my ideal palette, my ideal product. It is just amazing. Let's move on to, I guess we can do Melt Cosmetics. This was the toughest one for this video. This is the one that I had to mull over for quite a long time. I was like, what do I pick? Because I love so many Melt Cosmetics things. It is so rare that when there's a Melt product that I don't jive with. There's just so many good things. I love their palettes. Their palettes are incredible. The Gemini, the Muerte, She's in Parties, like you name it. I love their palettes with my entire being. I've loved this brand for so many years. They are just grungy perfection and I love it. Their liquid lipsticks are insane. There's just something about the shape of the doe foot and the way they apply makes your lips look so good. The shade Espresso is just the most beautiful deep brown. Ginger is such a good like pumpkin-y orange. So many good shades. Fawn, the ultimate cool tone brown. I've recently dived more into the regular lipsticks lately and I love them. Like Pumpkin is the most perfect like pumpkin orange. It is so good. I love their cream blushes. I love their shimmery blush duos from the B collection. There are just so many things from Melt that I love, but upon further reflection, I felt like I had no choice but to talk about this lip pencil. This seems so trivial and silly compared to all the other things this brand has to offer because I was very close to talking about like Gemini or Muerte because those are two of my favorite palettes from the brand of all time. But this lip pencil, ever since I bought it for myself a month ago, I cannot stop using it. I could use this lip pencil every day and be happy. I just love the formula. It's creamy and pigmented and it stays put so nicely. This is just such a good shade of brown that complements so many of the things that I personally like to wear. I can wear this with a darker brown. I can wear it with like a neutral similar to today. I can wear it with just like a sheer gloss. I can wear it with like an orange. I love pairing this pencil with that pumpkin lipstick. And again, this was so hard because so many things from Melt are my top favorites. Like it's just one of my top favorite brands ever. But this pencil truly has crept up to being one of my top favorite things. Like it is my go-to. I use this all the time. So I felt like it was just fitting to pick it for this video. But just know that like Muerte and Gemini, those palettes were very close seconds. Let's talk about Glaminatrix. Glaminatrix, they have some things that I really enjoy. I haven't tried like too many things from them. I don't even really know the full scope of what they have. They have some palettes that really stand out to me. Their most recent Barely Basic palette is definitely my top favorite palette from them. The shimmers are just so beautiful. Like we have a mixture of iridescence and metallics and just yummy fall grungy shades. It is such a good palette. Definitely highly recommend if you're looking for a palette from them. But their liquid blushes really stand out to me. I think they came out with these this year. The shade Lavish I use all the time. So pigmented, but they blend out so beautifully. I can use these with both a sponge or a brush. I love layering powders on top of it. It is just such a good formula. I think there's like 5 or 6 shades. I love all of them, but Lavish is definitely the one I'm reaching for first. It's just such a good shade. This like kind of terracotta tone It is so beautiful. I love this. It's just my absolute favorite product from the brand. No question about it. Let's talk about Sigma now. Sigma is a tough one. Like, they have so many good things and they just have such a wide variety of things in their range. I actually almost picked their bronzer just because I really like their bronzer so much. It applies so nicely. Their palettes have a really nice mixture of easy to work with mattes and really pretty metallics. The Cool Neutrals is probably my favorite from them. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. Their regular blushes and their cream blushes are just so good. Their highlighters are so just like metallic but not sparkly on the cheeks. They are so pretty. The eyeshadow primer is a top contender. I love their brushes. I do have my own brush favorites collaboration set that I came out with a couple months ago. Like the E27 brush is my top favorite, and I actually almost included this in this video. So this is kind of an honorable mention, but I figured I wanted to talk about like an actual makeup item and not a tool. So just know the E27 is my honorable mention. It is in my brush set, but this is my favorite brush of all time. I use this all the time. It is so good. I love this shape. But as far as like actual makeup products go, again, I kind of went with like, what do I use all the time from them? And I reach for this lip oil so much. Like, it is so low. I use this all the time. It's in the shade Tint. It's just beautiful. I don't know what it is. There's just something about the formula in this particular color. It really is like a sheer neutral nothingness. But it just looks so good. It makes your lips look so wet and so juicy. It's so lightweight and comfy because it is a lip oil rather than a gloss. I wear this constantly. I will wear this on full makeup days and pair it with like a nice, like funky lip liner to give it an interesting effect. But I'll also wear this on no makeup days where I just want a little something on my lips to look a little more hydrated. This is just so versatile for me. As you can see, it's very well loved. I use this so much. I have the other lip oil shades as well. I think there's 4 total if I'm not mistaken, but this is the one. This is the one. I don't know what it is about this lip oil, but it crept into my heart and it lives there now. Let's do Ensley Reign now. This was a highly requested one last time I did this video. But again, Ensley Reign has a pretty wide variety at this point. They definitely, like, their palettes are where they shine for sure. But I mean, they've come out with various lip products, highlighters, stuff like that. Their eyeshadow palettes are definitely my favorite thing from them. And they have so many good ones, like Lands of Enchantment is amazing. Their most recent Underland one is so good. The Groovy Garden, the Cold Moon is a beauty. It is so pretty, but I feel like it goes without saying, the Harvest Moon just remains my favorite. It is just so good. It is grungy fall in a palette. I adore this with my entire being. There are so many pretty, like, shifty shades and hollow shades, all these rich mattes. We can do a little swatcheroo as well. I just love their formulas. They're so pretty. I always feel so pretty when I wear them. I went on the outside of my hand there. There's just so many lovely things happening at all times. And I have a lot of fun when I play with their palettes. And this one specifically just, this is the star. This is the winner. It's very me. I just love the tones. They're everything. And last but not least, we're gonna talk about Fenty. Fenty and we have a love-hate relationship. The things that I love from Fenty, I love with my entire soul. And then there's also things that I really don't love. I do not have good luck with their complexion products. Like, any foundation I've ever tried from Fenty just isn't really for me. It always just looks a little too dry on my skin, unfortunately. I do have a gloss, like the original gloss bomb that came out a million years ago. I still have that gloss and I still really enjoy it. I have bronzer sticks that I really enjoy. I have various things, but the no-brainer, very beloved favorite from Fenty is my How Many Carats Diamond Bomb. I've loved this for years and years. It is so old and used and nasty. Like, there was an outer casing on this packaging that has since like completely disappeared. This is just my favorite. This is always the highlighter I take traveling with me. It's just incredible. It basically just looks like wet sparkle. Like, there's not really a color to it. It just looks like wetness. It literally looks like diamonds. It is the skin of a Killer Bella. I feel like it's hard to even see the swatch because it's just like sparkly. Like, when you wear this on your cheeks and then you're like out in the sun or the light hits it, it just sparkles and shines, but it's like a smooth sparkle. Because it's a little bit more of like a putty texture, but I wouldn't quite call it a cream. Like, I definitely treat this just like any old powder, but it's just, sparkly and wet and amazing. I've used this topped all over my eyeshadow looks if I want a little extra pizzazz to it. It is just the ultimate product. One of my top favorite products in my entire collection. I guess you could say this video series for me is just full of my top favorites in my entire collection because I'm narrowing it down brand by brand. But this is the best. This has been my favorite highlighter for years and years. It is the ultimate product from Fenty. It's just incredible. And I have all these other incredible things all over my hand. This was so fun. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts. Do we share any of the similar sentiments and favorites from these various brands? What are your top favorites from these brands? I would love to know. And if you missed the first video, you can go check that out as well if you want more of this type of video from me. And I can also continue this series if you want. I have a plethora of brands in my collection that I can continue talking about. If there's brands that you've seen me talk about before and you just want to know what my top favorites are, leave your suggestions down below. And if I haven't talked about it yet and I own it, I'll talk about it next time maybe. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out. If you made it to the end of this video, in the spirit of this theme, leave your top 10 favorite emojis. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm BATTYBEAN there as well. Also, if you want to, you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here, and you can join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members only video once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.